everybody. Good morning, everybody. Rise and grind on this. Thank God it's Friday. Yes, thank God it's Friday, everybody. Make sure I have everything. Check. Can't go without my buds. Earbuds. Wallet. But good morning, everybody. Rise and grind. Game time, Brian. Otherwise known as the mailman, U.S. mail, baby, going to deliver my appointed rounds, all 10 miles of it, 10 or 11. Got a double shot of liquid gold here. Yes, we do. We sat through a half of the, Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans. Now, let me ask everybody, are the Houston Texans better than the Buffalo Bills? No, they're not. But Houston Texans won in a one-game situation. Again, it seems like nobody had an issue when Jimbo, this goes to you, brother. And I had, like, when you're a YouTuber, just to give you a little heads up, when you're a YouTuber, there's an icon. I try and get to everybody's channel. I try and get to everybody's comment. But especially if you're a channel member, it's my job to get to your comment. That's the only reason why I noticed that. But I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate you becoming part of the Game Time crew. I know you've been a subscriber of Mark's channel forever. So I definitely appreciate that. But what annoyed me, Jimbo, was the comment of, oh, well, you were wrong the last 2 games. Well, okay. I was right through 8 games with your exact schedule. Okay, I was wrong. But I didn't hear anybody complaining when I predicted the Eagles to win by 10 on opening night. I was getting lauded. Everybody loved my prediction. Why? Because you don't want to think your team can lose. And you won by 4. And then we talk about said game after the game. In my opinion, Dallas was the better team that night and should have won off, but the Eagles won the game. That's all that matters. I'm not, but I predicted the Eagles. You got to be able to separate your prediction from your heart and your prediction. I absolutely believe Dallas wins the game this Sunday. Okay, does that mean they're the better team this year? No, I'm already telling you that. I'm already telling you that. And as we I don't know what's going on with the Clash. Maybe we'll do it on Saturday. Maybe. But again, maybe not. If Phil wants to do a show, I'd rather do a show with Phil. The Clash was just an afterthought coming home from Vegas because I didn't know what Phil was doing. Phil's got to catch up on work. But maybe he can do one on Saturday. I sent him the Eagles song that Ron Oliver makes for us every week. There is a rematch song. Hopefully you guys get to hear it. If not, I'll play it at some point. I am doing a post game on Sunday. So if I'm wrong, come tell me I'm a moron. D'Angelo Cranston, you of all people know. You know. Am I not about as open-minded of a Cowboy fan as there is? Just because I feel like they're going to win, everybody gets all upset. Like, oh my God. We know where Drew comes from. I love Drew, but we know he's 100% all the time pedal to the metal. He don't ever predict an Eagles loss. But losses happen. You think last night that the Buffalo Bills, we've heard some people in the chat say, well, they picked the Texans because they need to make up games. Well, that's different. When you do a pigskin pick 'em, every week I'm picking games that I'm trying to catch up. So that's what happens. But, I just have a feeling Dallas is going to win the game. Don't mean nothing. And like when we play playoffs, we're talking. We got 7 weeks left in the season, D'Angelo, for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't need anybody telling me what to think, what to say, what to talk about. I'm about as nice and open book as anybody. We're going to enjoy the next 7 weeks. If there's more, there's more. All I said was if Dallas were to make the playoffs, they would be hot. Am I wrong, D'Angelo? If the stars aligned, if they made the playoffs, they would have to go on some kind of heater. That's all I said. I'm not predicting that. I'm predicting a win on Sunday. And if they win, we'll see who's there to say, man, you were right. You had a good feeling. Probably about as many people as said I was right about Quentin Williams, which is not many. But you guys are all quickly to jab the needle, and, troll. That's fine. That's your prerogative, but I see it, okay? And I'm going to call it out. That's all. Hamid only shows up when Eagles win, right? Now, you've won a lot this year, so great. But, when you lose, the true measure of a man is when things don't go the way you think. If you show up and go, all right, man, I was wrong. Let's get her again next week. But that being said, I want you to listen to this clip. This clip, I have 2 clips I want to play. I'm going to play the first clip. There's some stats here that I wasn't that aware of. I was, but it's been out of sight, out of mind. Last year was a train wreck due to injury. I do account for that. I know some fans don't want to give any credence to it. It's part of the equation. Whether we want to use it as an excuse or not, especially, it is part of the equation when any of these guys talk about the game. Listen up.
Things are in Philadelphia this afternoon as they get ready to visit the Cowboys coming up this weekend. Time here for a daily football fix with Wolchuk, buddy.
Let's do it. Your insane stat of the day, courtesy of Tom Downing on the Twitters. Last time the Cowboys lost at home against an NFC East team with a healthy Dakota Rain Prescott was November 19th of 2017 against the Eagles. That is an absurd 18 straight wins at home against the East. That's also the only time Dak has ever lost at home against Filthy. He is 6-1 against the Turds.
Has he ever lost both games to the Turds?
I don't think so. I don't
think so either.
I don't think he's ever been. I think the only team that's ever swept him was his rookie year, the Giants.
Yeah, 16.
Usually I'm on the lookout for false confidence. I don't think that applies here. I think Cowboys fans are well within their rights to believe you're gonna knock off the best team in the NFC and bring a little bit more credibility to your season.
Yeah, why the hell not, man?
You can't argue with those type of numbers. Does that mean it's 100% guaranteed? Absolutely not. It's not 100% guaranteed. The only thing that's 100% guaranteed in this world is death and paying taxes. Because none of that shit's going to stop. We're all going. And we all never going to not pay taxes. Well, we can, but we'll end up in jail. So, kind of a surprise at that stat. And I don't like Drew, I don't like when people say Dak's record against the Eagles, Dak's record against Jalen. We had to pick or choose, but a lot of the pundits will say Dak's record. You have to say Dak's record. Just like we say Jalen's record against above 500 teams and how many wins in a row and all that. That's part of the equation. Now, it is a team game, but ESPN uses it. These are the facts. Jalen's very good. Jalen's won a lot of football games over the last 3 years. A lot. His record against good teams is phenomenal. You have to keep that a part of the equation. Is that the end-all, be-all? No. But Dak Prescott's record against the East, and more importantly, the Eagles, is unbelievable. He hasn't lost at home playing the Birds since 2017. Now, he has been injured a couple times, but I'm just giving you a window of why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. Again, it's just a prediction, people. Just a prediction. Philly D goes, they're just trolling. Well, you can troll all you want, but make sure you show up if I'm right. Because a lot of times, people don't. We see Eagles all day running his mouth last night. All right, man. Make sure I see you and don't make an excuse. Like after the game. Because if Dallas loses, I'll be the first one to to pick apart why they lost and take my hat off to the Eagles. That's part of being a sportsman. Okay? That's part of being a sportsman. You can choose to be a sportsman or not. You want to be a dickhead? Then go be a dickhead. I don't roll that way. Never have. At the end of the day, these players don't care about us. When the game's over, the fans are way more upset than the players. And it's a fact. But anyway, moving on. I was listening to the same podcast or the same radio station, and they were talking about Jason Kelce. I did not know about this. This whole A.J. Brown, I think he's done after this year. I'm not trying to be a troll. That's my opinion. Now, I think if they win a Super Bowl, Eagles, that is, they're moving on. I think I have that a gut feeling. Just look, there's different videos out there. I don't want to troll or come off like I'm trolling. That's why I use this clip. There's a clip of Jalen going into the huddle this week to pump up the team. Go look it up. It's on Instagram. It's on TikTok. And A.J. Brown is laughing, and he's walking away from the group of players before the game that are all getting excited. A.J. Brown is checked out. Okay? He's not running his routes the best. He gives up on routes. Like I said, this is not a bad thing. He's very good at what he does. But he doesn't have that many routes in the route tree, A.J. Brown. Right? That's why I say, everybody wants to say, well, George Pickens is better than CD. CD runs every route. CD is a very, very good route runner. Okay? But George Pickens is probably better with the ball in his hand than CD Lamb. Right? But George Pickens is starting to run more routes. I mean, in the first game against the Eagles, we caught a break. No Jalen Carter. But first, before I get to that, listen to Jason Kelce talk about locker rooms and how overblown it could be as long as you're winning. Listen to this.
I think that there are frustrations within a team that build up continually, and I think Jalen gets a lot of the highlighting of that again because he's the quarterback. Me and Lane Johnson one year, I'll put this out there. Me and Lane Johnson one year at the end of Chip Kelly's career, Lane made a comment in the media, said something along the lines of, we're the up-tempo offense is way too hard on us in practice, and we're working too difficult, and guys are getting fatigued. And I remember reading that, and I'm like, dude. And I went out and said something in the media and said, what does Lane know? Lane's only been with the Philadelphia Eagles. How does he know what it feels like to do other practices? He's only practiced with Chip Kelly. So he's saying something and parroting something from what other guys are saying. And, to be honest, I think we're pretty pampered here in Philadelphia. And Lane then made another comment. Lane and I didn't talk for an entire offseason. Wow. Lane is one of my best friends. I love that guy. And this is part of being on a team. There are so many ups and downs, and I've gotten into yelling matches with Jeff Stoutland, a guy that I consider almost like a father. This thing brings out emotions and sides of people because you all want to win.
The stakes are so high.
He starts getting choked up and cries there. When I didn't talk to Lane Johnson for an entire offseason. Those two were best friends.
He was boo-hooing?
He started tearing up. He got pretty emotional there. I mean, that's the kind of catastrophic issues we've got going on there in Filthy right now, and this dates back to
tears.
The Chip Kelly time. So hey,
I do think they feel a different kind of pressure, just it being in that city, that fan base, just how rabid it is.
They're freaking 8-2. They're coming off a Super Bowl win, and you still have this conversation about players not liking the quarterback, the frustration with Jalen Hurts. This thing, I mean, hey, I've been waiting for it, but it feels like the balloon could pop at any moment.
Yeah, like I said.
Very surprising to hear Jason Kelce talk about Lane Johnson that way. Lane coming in as a new player. I would say, in retrospect, Lane was right, Jason. He didn't say that, but I'm just saying, we all knew Chip Kelly was a jackwagon, and that he was treating this pro team like a college team. But I digress. Going back to the George Pickens, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, I think Devontae Smith is a better route runner than A.J. Brown, like C.D. is better than Pickens. But I think with the ball in their hand, I think A.J. is better than Devontae, and I think George is better than C.D. I'm not getting into who's better. It doesn't matter. They're both very good wide receiver core, but multiple outlets are saying A.J. is not running these routes hard if he knows he's not getting the ball. A lot of players do that. C.D. has done it from time to time, but that's not a good look. I don't believe A.J.'s long for the team. Now, if you win a Super Bowl, he's definitely leaving. If you don't win a Super Bowl, he's definitely leaving. I'm sorry, guys, but I think it's gone. That doesn't mean you can't get another receiver. There's a lot of receivers in the draft. You might need that cap space, more importantly, to bring back a Jalen Phillips. So I think it was, again, a great move. Great move. 2 sacks. I said 1. I was told 1 sack yesterday. The dude from Pro Football Focus listening to an interview. So, okay. But I mean, you know what I mean? We've said that he's had a great season. Now, I will double check that. I should have done it before the video because I trust it was 1. Maybe they gave the sack to somebody else. But if it's 2, it's 2. You know, I'll stand corrected. As always, you guys should know, I always stand corrected. It's called a YouTube channel. I put my opinion out there, and that's fine. I don't mind being trolled. I'm good with that. It's just like the personalness of it sometimes. It's like, dude, none of you guys are bitching when I had Eagles winning. But again, I go back to, if Dallas should win on Sunday, like I'm predicting, does that mean they're better than the Eagles? I don't think they are right now. Well, but, you know, Eagles are banged up on the offensive line. I think Dallas's defense is going to have their way. I think Eagles are going to have some success. I think Devontae's going to have a big play. I think Saquon may have a big play, but I also believe that the middle of the field is wide open when you play the Eagles. What the Eagles do so well, especially Jalen Carter, is stick his hands up and knock down a lot of balls, him and Jordan Davis. So, for my money, the Eagles have the best defense in the NFL right now. Like front seven. It'll be interesting to see if Kenyon Mitchell indeed stays with George Pickens, because he's going to line up with the outside boundary receiver. He always does. 1-on-1. Okay, that'll be a fun matchup, but then you're going to go and cook the hell, because they're going to double team CD with Dory Jackson. That's going to be a big matchup, right? You don't go against arguably the best corner in the league. Arguably. I wouldn't say best, but he's in the conversation. I like the guy in Denver, but he's a great player. Again, guys, before I knew he was going to the Eagles, I said he was the best corner in the draft. Before a lot of this, okay? You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind. I got to remind you when I'm right, because everybody tells me when I'm wrong. So it must be nice to be perfect. But so that'll be interesting, because in the first game, they pulled Mitchell off of Pickens to cover CD. And you say, well, why did they do that? Because CD was cooking, right? Now, he dropped some balls that ultimately cost him the game. Maybe it was because, it is what it is. Dak has to go to the other guy, whoever that is. That's all. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. I think it's really going to come down to whether Dallas can run the football. They did in the first game, but you didn't have Jalen Carter. So these are some of the breakdowns. Hopefully Phil does have a show, and we'll break it down. You know me, I'll have a live stream at some point. I know we're getting down to the end of it, but I try not to go over top of Mark. Not that he cares about going over top of me. We have YouTube channels, but I still subscribe to his channel, so I try and be respectful to the guy who got me in YouTube, so I don't always try and go up against him. On game day, I don't even live stream the games anymore. I do a post game, so I'll do games throughout the week, I just don't like watching. I don't like live streaming the Cowboy game when I'm invested because the timing I'm hearing in the chat before I see it. So, but anyway, I am late to work. I'm sitting here. I'm a good 15 minutes late, but that's all right. It gives me 15 minutes on the back end. I don't know. I was tired this morning, so I'm glad I got off at halftime, but I didn't fall asleep till after midnight. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Again, Jimbo, apologize, but you know, I just did. I know you had the icon, then I forgot that when I was giving out the channel memes that it gave you one. Do what you got to do. You don't have to, bro. I do appreciate it, but I have to get to the comments. But I comment you anyway. I Philly 500 taught me a long time ago, get to everybody, and I tried to. But sometimes when you're involved in a conversation, you can't. Now, I haven't been as good with getting back to the comments because I don't get the emails anymore. I literally got to go back and open the video and you get back to it. So I have to do that. So I need to do better. But all right, everybody, I will talk to you later. I'm going to do a lunchtime chat around 3:15 Eastern. Jason, have your bell notifications. I got an email from my boy in Florida. I don't know when you're live. Hit the bell notification near the subscribe. But all right, everybody, that's it. That's me. Game time, Brian. Going to deliver his appointed rounds. Go Cowboys. Go Cowboys. 7 games left. Let's enjoy. Late.
Really? Can you feel the tension in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it all the way down in my plums, getting all swollen with a light blue hue to them, fresh and juicy, ready for the picking.